We hit the court at break of dawn. Purple gold, we step it strong. Running plays like fire sparks. Every game a work of art. Staples Center lights up bright. Laker legends in the night. Crowd goes wild, the beat drops hard. We own this game, we set the bar. Lakers Digest on the rise. Through ups and downs, we light the skies. Big beat drop as we take flight. From the paint to the spotlight.
Hello, and what is good? There we are. What is good, guys? What is going on? This is Lakers Digest with another live video coming at you with the start of free agency, and things are going to be going fast and quickly. So for the next about hour and a half or so, we're going to talk about what's going on with the Lakers and see if they make any moves. There's been a lot of talks today about different kind of centers the Lakers have been looking at, what's going on with Finney-Smith. We're going to talk about that. And then also maybe even some of the players who could be in the pipeline for replacing a guy like Finney-Smith, because that has been the noise of today. But free agency is going to start here in the next couple of minutes, and I'm going to be right here with you guys to talk about everything that the Lakers are going through. So if you have any questions, just let me know here in the comment section and we'll get it cracking here. Like I said, in the next minute or so, we should have all of this news firing about free agency. And we've gotten a couple of things beforehand. And the big question is for the Los Angeles Lakers is, what are they going to do at that center position? Because that is on everybody's mind. It's been on everybody's mind. And how are they going to upgrade at that position? There's been a couple of names that we've talked about via free agency and trades, but there's a couple of things I'm hoping that they can do, whether it's trading for that starting center, but then with the recent news of Deandre Ayton possibly becoming a free agent, then that changes things, obviously, for the Lakers' fortune, because you can get like a starting level center from just getting a guy off of free agency. And I do have my, misgivings about a guy like Deandre Ayton, but he still would be the best center out there, especially for his age and where he's at in his career and what he can do offensively, because he can be a really nice piece alongside with Luka Doncic. And that's crazy to think all those years ago from Ayton and Luka in the same draft to be possibly being on the same team. So that very well could happen here for the Los Angeles Lakers today. But like I said, free agency is just getting underway, and then we're going to get cracking here on who is going to be available and what happens here. So we'll see what happens from a reporting standpoint. Obviously I'm going to be on my phone a ton, just looking at what Shams Charania is saying and some of the other guys. But free agency is now officially underway, guys, and we're going to be here for the next hour or hour and a half or so, maybe two, depending on how things go. Obviously, with Los Angeles Lakers, I'm going to talk about everything here. So just like I said, let me know what you guys think of what's going on in your mind right now for the Los Angeles Lakers. What are your goals, plans for the Lakers? I know the center has been on everybody's mind, but I of the mind of we gotta get a point of attack defender, somebody who can preferably play both sides of the ball. There's been names that we've talked about here on this channel, but maybe even some names free agency that we haven't talked too much about. Guys like maybe a Bruce Brown could be available. I recently saw, obviously, Davion Mitchell, who's one of my favorites, got signed to the Heat, so he's a guy who's off the board. Dennis Schroeder could be available, but there is noise that he could go to Sacramento on a 2-year deal because they're going to pay him the full mid-level exception. So a lot of things could be swirling here. Let's see what the first deal or first domino kind of really to fall for free agency. And it could be just a lot of low level deals, because we've been hearing stuff here and there. I believe Josh Okogie just got re-signed by the Charlotte Hornets, which isn't too much. And then looks like got some news here that Spieth Mikhailuk is getting a guaranteed or non-guaranteed salary for about $3.6 million from the Utah Jazz. So not too much big movement here at the beginning, but like I said, things are probably going to be rolling in fast and furious, and we're going to be here the next hour and a half talking about what the Lakers can do here, because they do have a couple of things to really hone down here, and I've talked about it here at the beginning, at the top of the show, and talk about it again, because the Lakers are looking for centers, and there is going to be a ton of names on free agency. The names that we're watching is Brook Lopez, Clint Capela, DeAndre Ayton. Hey, even Al Horford, who's been another name that's floated out there. I know some of those guys are older, and some of those guys do have their shortcomings, but those are a couple of names that the Lakers have been looking for in free agency. Trade market, it's been guys like Claxton, maybe even Daniel Gafford, maybe even Jakob Poeltl, some of these other names that we've talked about here, not only on this channel, but just rumors that's been swirling around of what the Lakers can do. But just with the recent things that have happened here in the past 48 or so-ish hours, it seems likely that it could end up being DeAndre Ayton, and then the Lakers end up trading for, say, that starting two-way player, that two-way wing that they're kind of looking for, because that's probably what you can use those assets. And assets, I mean, that either that 2031 first round pick or that 2032 first round pick, plus Dalton, Knecht, and maybe some salary filler to get that starting two-way wing that you are, a point of attack defender, especially a two-way wing that you're looking for, that type of guy, because you're hoping to get that from Jared Vanderbilt, but some of his offensive shortcomings have been the reason why he hasn't been able to assume that role. So the Lakers could be looking for that elsewhere, and they could be also be looking at it from the free agency standpoint, because there was word today from Dan Wilkie, who was with the LA Times but is now, I believe, with the Athletic. He was talking about how DeAnthony Melton could be a name that the Los Angeles Lakers could be looking out for in free agency. And before he got injured, DeAnthony Melton was a very solid player. Just talking about DeAnthony Melton here just for a little bit, and DeAnthony Melton averaged about 10.3 points per game, averaged about 3.3 rebounds, 2.8 assists, shot about 40% from the field and 37% from three-point line. So he is a very solid point of attack defender, age 27, so he's not too old, right there in the middle of his prime. Yes, he is coming off a big injury, torn ACL, but he tore that back in November of last year, and there is a very good sense that he is going to come back at the beginning of the regular season and be ready to go at the start of the regular season, which is very huge. So if the Lakers could look to him as to be a point of attack defender, a guy who can come off the bench and give you some solid guard minutes, or maybe even take some spot starts for you because of his ability to do that as well, that could be another name the Lakers could look to sign here. But like I said, it's the beginning of free agency, and once things gets rolling out, we'll be talking about it as they come. But just for right now, we'll see what comes down the pipeline. I'm going to be on my phone pretty much this whole time, just figuring out what is the next move, what is going to happen, who are the names that are going to be signing well, and what are the names that the Lakers are going to be looking for. We've talked about a couple of those names now, just recently talked about the Anthony Melton. So we'll continue to go through a list of names the Lakers have been either linked to or rumored to be with. So these couple of other teams, a couple of other players that I wanted to get to, not only just including from the centers, but then also some of the players that could be leaving the Los Angeles Lakers, as we've got possibly a report about Jordan Finney-Smith, and then him not possibly staying with Lakers. He obviously declined his option, and there is rumors out there that he could be headed to possibly either Houston on a 4-year deal, because they're looking to give him more money. And for the Los Angeles Lakers, who are trying to keep their money for the future pretty open so they can make deals and be able to make a splashy move in the future free agency. So they're trying to keep their books as open as they can. The only long-term contract they really have on the roster is Jared Vanderbilt, and it's just around $12 million. So it's not a super taxing contract or anything like that. They do have a couple of rookies under contract next season with Bronny and Knecht, and that's really just it, because Luka Doncic and Austin Reaves both have player options, which they're probably going to decline for next season. And Luka Doncic is probably going to get an extension at the end of the summer. And then Austin Reaves, the Lakers and Austin Reaves have been he declined his player he's going to decline. He told them he was going to decline that option that they were extension, that they were going to give Austin Reaves, a 4-year, around like 89.2 or $6 million, and he was going to decline it and then test for free agency. But they have been motivated, both sides, both Austin Reaves and the Lakers have been motivated to get a deal done on their end. But that is more maybe down the line. As far as right now, we're looking for centers. Hopefully Los Angeles Lakers can grab one or two, or point of attack defenders. There's been a couple of names out there. We'll go down the list with Brook Lopez, Clint Capela, DeAndre Ayton, and then Nick Claxton. Just those guys will kind of just go down the list of just what they kind of bring to the table and how they can help the Lakers and what they do well in the context of what the Lakers need. So some of these guys, like I said, especially in free agency, they're not all perfect, and we'll go through each name on like why they're not all perfect, but there's some things that they can still add to this Lakers squad and give the Lakers a boost in those categories down there, down low for the Lakers. So let's start with Brook Lopez, because Brook Lopez, he seems like a likely candidate just because he had a long 7-year stint with the Milwaukee Bucks, and there is noise that he's probably going to leave the Milwaukee Bucks and test his value somewhere else. Obviously, Brook Lopez is toward the end of his career, but he still put up pretty solid numbers last season, about 13 points per game, 5 rebounds per game, averaged about 1.9 blocks per game, so he can still do that at a high rate. Shot about 50% from the field and 37% from 3, and then he shot 58% from corner threes. So he does that. He shoots threes at a very high volume, so that's a plus in my opinion for a guy like Brook Lopez. And he's a guy that is always going to keep the defense honest because of not how often he shoots it out there, but then how well percentage he shoots it out there. Because from 37% from 3, you have to respect a guy like Brook Lopez out there. You have to send a man out there. And that also opens up your spacing and say for those driving lanes for guys like LeBron James, like Luka Doncic to really get downhill, even Austin Reaves to get downhill into the paint and really make things and create things happening. So that's offensively. And then defensively, Brook Lopez, especially at this point of his career, he's more of a drop coverage big, a guy that you can put on bigger dudes and sort of like body those bigger guys, and then be a good box out guy, be a guy that can help your other teammates facilitate rebounds because of his ability to box out. The Lakers, especially for the past couple of seasons, with the exception of Anthony Davis, did not have too many guys that like to box out and be good at doing that. So Brook Lopez can be a guy that can do that for you as well. But I do wonder, especially at his advanced age, how much he can give you. He did play. He has, to his credit though, the past couple of seasons he has played close to 80 games in each season, so he has been very durable the past, I believe, 3 seasons. But there is still some questions, obviously, because he is going up there in age, and then you wonder how many minutes that a guy like Brook Lopez can give you, because are you going to ask a guy like Brook Lopez to play 32 minutes a night, say if he ends up being the only guy the Lakers get? You probably wouldn't want that, but if he's a guy that can maybe average somewhere from 22 to 26 minutes, then I think you're in business there. You can get some good value from Brook Lopez, and you're not also burning him out all the way. So, like I said, we'll see what happens here and who is going to be signed first. There is just been noise about like possible meetings here and there. So the Houston Rockets have been talking with Dorian Finney-Smith and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. They were working hard to get meetings with them early. The Kings, it looked like they're going to be talking to Dennis Schroeder and Russell Westbrook. Interesting enough, our old friend. Nothing so yet on the Lakers. So it's kind of weird, though, to be honest. Usually free agency, like at the beginning, there's just like rapid fire, just like all these deals going at it. And it's been the first kind of like 10 or 12 minutes, and not much has happened. I believe Steve Mikhailuk signed a deal, but he isn't really a big splash. So like it's kind of weird at this moment how there hasn't been any deals announced, because it's said, wink wink, that these people aren't talking to one another, and obviously this is when they can start talking. But usually in past years there has been deals literally done right before, like right as free agency is starting. So it's kind of strange to me that nothing big has happened so far, but leave it to the NBA, because the NBA is a league that can be very dramatic and a lot of things can happen rapid fire. But as of right now, it is not too much going on for the league here in general, and that's for the Lakers. So I'll just continue to go through the list of guys that the Lakers have been looking at. Went through Brook Lopez, who is very solid backup. I think, in my opinion, he shouldn't probably be a full-time starter at this point. He can be a guy that can have spot starts here or there. So say if you have a guy injured here or there, then he can do a spot start for you. But I don't really want him to be the main starter going into the season, because it just puts a lot of trust on a 37-year-old center who is aging, and he did play a lot of games the past 3 seasons, but you wonder how much more that he can give you. So Brook Lopez, I think he's okay, but mainly mostly as a backup. So, and then another name that I want to get to as well is Clint Capela. Clint Capela we've talked about here a ton on this channel, and just he has been the name that has made maybe the most sense, just because of the type of skills that he has done, mostly back in his Houston days and a little bit some in his Atlanta Hawks days. But he is a guy that has always been a screen center, a rebounder, a shot blocker, and a lob threat. Just all of those things that Luka Doncic loves in a big, and Clint Capela has been that mostly his entire career. So he's had a role of doing the thing that Luka is hoping for. But Clint Capela did at the end, really of that Hawk season, and mostly it started even before last season, he was starting to lose playing time to Onyeka Okongwu, who's an up-and-coming young big. Yes, he's a very good young big. I believe Okongwu also can stretch you out, starts to shoot threes as well, and he's not as big as Capela, but he is very rangy and very bouncy, and has a higher motor at this point of his career just because he's a younger player. So that's why Clint Capela started to fall out a little bit with the Atlanta Hawks. And also some injuries were a bit of a concern for him, as he didn't play all the games that he was able to play for the Atlanta Hawks. So that's why he kind of fell out of favor with them. And then recently with them just trading for Kristaps Porzingis, is very, very likely that they're not going to re-sign Clint Capela. So that's why his name has surfaced as possibly one of the names for the Los Angeles Lakers. And Clint Capela, another name, totally fine with, as long as it's a backup. And that's really what I'm kind of getting at for most of these bigs here, with the exception of Ayton. We'll get to him in a second. But most of these bigs here, especially in free agency, these are backup level bigs. And Clint Capela can do a lot of good things for you. And from top to bottom, looks like we got a deal here. But it's just Jaren Jackson Jr. Looks like he signed the max extension that he can sign at 5 years to $240 million. This is according to Shams Charania. So that is I guess the first big player to really make a deal. But like, this wasn't too unexpected in NBA circles, because Jaren Jackson Jr. was probably going to get this extension. What's up in the chat, guys? John OK and Jay Corbin. And so where was I? I was talking about, yes, Clint Capela. So yeah, Clint Capela has been a guy that the Lakers had been linked to a ton, and he's going to cost a very pretty safe number, whether it's the mid-level extension, about $5.7 million, or it could be even at a smaller number, because he's probably going to be a guy that's going to be a backup for you next season. And it's probably won't be a super long deal. It might be a 1-year deal for the Lakers to try to have a test run and see if he can be a guy or be a viable backup big. But I think he can be. Clint Capela, very solid, I think, as a backup. So let's find his... Oops. Here it is. This is his stats here. Clint Capela this past couple of seasons. And you do see the points per game kind of drop off and taper some, especially really since he left the Houston Rockets. But he still was a solid rebounder, a guy that can be trusted to get close to double-digit rebounds, if not way over double-digit rebounds per game. He's averaged 10.5 in his career, to go along with 12 points per game, 1.1 blocks per game, and 0.7 steals per game. So he can be a guy very active on the defensive side of the ball. He is not a three-point shooter. He will not take threes. He will not even look at the three-point line. He is a very paint-bound player. But when you have a guy like Luka Doncic, who can make it very easy for you to been always okay. Nice. Okay, my connection was shoddy there for a second, but now it's back. Cool. But yeah, Capela, like I said, he's been a sturdy guy. You know what he gives you. He's not going to really surprise you too much. So as a backup big, I think he is a viable get. And if you can get him at a reasonable number, especially if it's like the veteran minimum, that would be exceptional if you can get a guy like Clint Capela at that. And to be your backup, I think that is a very good use of your money. So that is another name. And so another name we're also going to get to here in free agency from Capela, and then also talk about Brook Lopez, Deandre Ayton. And I kind of have my own sort of issues with this, mostly because I see Deandre Ayton as the second coming of Andrew Bynum. And for Laker fans, if you know Andrew Bynum, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. A very talented player who can do a lot of things for you, but he has questions about his motor and what he can do consistently. As yes, he can be a guy that can put up double numbers and give you some block shots, but he's also a guy that can be very, and I mean very disinterested, give lackluster effort. He's one of those guys when you say are watching a basketball game, you can tell from when he's turned up to when he's not. Because Deandre Ayton, when he's turned up, playing well, playing with force, playing with effort, then he looks like almost like a 20 and 10 guy sometimes. But when he's really just off his game, he's taking just a bunch of unnecessary mid-range jumpers, a bunch of unnecessary jump shots, really poor at just going after rebounds sometimes. Even though he's a great rebounder, his effort is just non-existent this time. So I have issues with Deandre Ayton. However, though, Deandre Ayton is probably the strongest free agent center in the market, talent-wise, just because of what he can do on both sides of the ball. Yes, his defense is not superb, but it's also not horrible as well. He's a big body guy that can move his feet a little bit, can take up space. Really, he's got a really big wingspan, so he can block shots here and there. So he's not as bad as some people think defensively, but it's just mostly those mentality and just how you're going to get the best out of DeAndre Ayton, because it is very, very hard to really keep this guy motivated and keep him going throughout. But maybe him fighting for a new contract could be a reason for him to get to that next level, and that's what is happening here with the Portland Trailblazers, because he was bought out yesterday, and he was bought out for it was around $25 million was the buyout that was just recently reported. So a lot of money that the Portland Trailblazers were cutting to get rid of DeAndre Ayton, and hoping to set him up to get him to go to a team that he would desire. What's going on, Reaper? I am okay. You said Ayton for 14.5. I probably wouldn't pay Ayton that much money. The number that has been going around is 1 year 10.5, and it leaves the Lakers about like 4.5 for like a mid-level exception. So you can probably bring in another center. You can probably bring in a Brook Lopez or a Clint Capela, or you can bring in a point of attack guard. Bruce Brown has been a name the Lakers have been linked to in the past. So maybe something of that nature, Reaper. I think the Lakers could be going that route. But nothing has happened so far. We've just got a couple of signings from the Memphis Grizzlies. Jaren Jackson Jr., who signed for a ton of money in his extension. And then also Santi Aldama signed for a 3-year, $52.5 million deal. I don't know what they see in him. But I am not the Memphis Grizzlies GM. And this is not the Memphis Grizzlies channel. So, can continue about DeAndre Ayton and just some of the things that he kind of brings to you. And so this is his stats here for the past couple of seasons. And these are very good numbers for a guy who's been in the league for a couple of seasons. 16.4 points per game, 10.5 total rebounds, 1 block per shot per game. He's shooting about 59% from 2, and then he's shooting about 23% from 3. Obviously, he's not taking a ton of 3-pointers. He took more last season, but that was due to the fact of with where Portland was at, really. So DeAndre Ayton has put up solid numbers. Another thing that also worries me is the games played. He hasn't been a guy that has been super durable in his first 7 seasons, with the exception of that 2018-2019 season where he played 71 games. And then also the 2020 and 2021 season where he played 69 games. So DeAndre Ayton, so a couple of things for him. It's the motor, the intensity, and then also just being available. Hasn't been a guy that's been super available, but when he is on the floor, he is probably the most skilled free agent big man out there. He's the only free agent big man out there that can start, I think, adequately for the Los Angeles Lakers. So that is a big reason why his name has really come up here in these past like 24-ish hours. Hold on, let me grab some water, guys. But yeah, DeAndre Ayton has been the hot topic and has been the name. And if you can get him at that price, it's not the worst thing in the world for the Los Angeles Lakers, but hopefully it's just a one-year deal, and it's mostly just a trial run because they got to find a way to motivate a guy like DeAndre Ayton. If he's going to be on your basketball team, you have to find a way to get him excited, and that's really annoying that you have to say that about a basketball player, but DeAndre Ayton is just one of those guys, so that is my output and my thinking of what a guy like Ayton is. So Reaper, what'd you say? You said not much of a floor spacer, but he lies right in the environment that changes may happen. The reunion in his son's days with CP3. I mean, maybe. Luka is definitely a guy that can spoon feed you like CP3 did, especially for those Suns days. So he's gonna have a lot of easy buckets being with the Los Angeles Lakers, but I'm saying it's the intensity. So the Lakers are gonna need him to do not only more than what he's gonna be required on the offensive end, but defensively as well. Can he be a guy that can switch at points in time? Can he be a guy that plays drop coverage efficiently? Can he be a guy to be like not more of a top level shot blocker, but like a rim deterrent, some guy to not make it easy for these guys coming into the paint against the Lakers. So a lot of teams that like to drive, get downhill, get in the lane, teams like the Memphis Grizzlies, teams like the Oklahoma City Thunder, teams like the Minnesota Timberwolves with Anthony Edwards, all of these guys like to get downhill, and the Lakers having no real interior threat for like the second half of the season because they traded Anthony Davis. It didn't show up too much because the Lakers were playing very hard defensively and they were doing a very good job at switch and swarm defense, but then eventually that sapped some of those guys' legs, and that was part of the reason why the Lakers didn't play too good defensively down the stretch and also in the playoffs, where they were going against a much more physically stronger Minnesota Timberwolves team. So, the Rockets too. Yeah, you're right. The Rockets can score in the paint a lot because the Rockets have Şengün, who's an issue. He's always been an issue against the Los Angeles Lakers. They got KD there now. Jalen Green is gone. He was a guy that liked to attack the rim a lot, but they still have Ahmed Thompson, who is growing as a player. Ahmed Thompson's obviously he's rising into like one of my favorite like non-Laker players. That dude's just insane. Like if there was a world like in the future, if people like ask about what is Luka Doncic's perfect teammate, it's actually Ahmed Thompson. Like that guy's insane. So, but that's just a pipe dream of mine. Probably down the line, the Lakers have to like do a lot to pry him away from Houston, because Houston would be dumb to give up a guy like Ahmed Thompson, because he's just only growing and expanding. If he just gets some type of jump shot, good luck the rest of the league. But yeah, Ayton has been a guy that he's very Andrew Bynum-like to me, and it was very hard to trust Andrew Bynum when he was playing with the Lakers, and it helped because the Lakers also had a couple other bigs to kind of keep him in line with Pau Gasol and then also Lamar Odom, and those two guys really kind of kept him on his rocker. And then also Pau Gasol and Lamar Odom were closing games, so once you knew you got the most out of your starting center, Andrew Bynum, then you go to Lamar Odom, a more versatile defender, a more versatile offensive playmaker, a guy that you can do a lot more different things than Andrew Bynum. So maybe this could be the type of way the Lakers use DeAndre Ayton, and maybe that's how they get the best out of him. So use him as the starter, and with the way they close their lineups, because they did close without a center, but that was with Dorian Finney-Smith on the team, and that does change things if Dorian Finney-Smith isn't able to be re-signed by the Lakers. And with the way things are sounding like really out there in the rumor mill, it seems like Dorian Finney-Smith is on his way out to possibly Houston. But we shall see for the Los Angeles Lakers, because it's kind of weird though that it's almost 30 minutes in to free agency and there hasn't been any really big name deals just yet. But preach. What do you say? I hope the Lakers can get DeAndre Ayton. I think he'll be a great lob threat. Can score down low. His defense is questionable. He just has to stay focused. That's better said than done. DeAndre Ayton has had an issue staying focused for his entire career. It's the reason why he hasn't been an all-star. Like, this dude has the talent to be an all-star level player. He has the talent to be a 20, 10, and 2 blocks guy, but it hasn't all come to fruition for him. And I don't think it's less a situation. It's just more of temperament and mentality, and it's just the way he attacks the game. It's not to my liking, but like, if he were to come to the Lakers at a very reasonable price, like at about $10.5 million or so, then I'm totally fine with the Lakers taking a flyer on him, because he is the best, the most skilled available center out there in the free agent market, and he does make the most sense because of his game. Yes, right, he's a lob threat, and he has some post moves with both hands. His defense, it is better than people think, because he's a big body, he's got a very big wingspan, and if he's in the right spots, majority of the time, he's going to be a rim deterrent, and that's the most you can ask for, I think, for a guy like DeAndre Ayton. He can switch out a little bit because he's got some quick feet, but he isn't a guy that, like, say, like a Nick Claxton, who can switch out to a myriad of guards and guards a ton of different positions. But yeah, 30 minutes in. Nothing too much really going on. Like I said, Bruce Brown Jr., that can be a name to be look out for Los Angeles Lakers, because he's a guy that in the past the Lakers have coveted and looked to sign, but he signed obviously with the Indiana Pacers, and then he was traded to the Raptors, and now I think he was traded to the Pelicans, and now that's where he's a free agent. So if that number is also good for a guy like Bruce Brown, I do like him, especially off the bench. He can do some things for you. He did a lot of great things for the Denver Nuggets, especially in their title run. And he can guard a couple of different positions, too, because he is of a stockier ilk, more of a stockier, like, point guard size, but plays a 2 role. Wouldn't my Finney-Smith? So, yeah, the thing about the sign and trade is only interesting because if the Lakers were to do that, it would to hard capped him, and technically they kind of had been hard capped in the second apron because they made a trade for cash in the draft, so they had been hard capped. So this really it's not gonna matter too much if the Lakers were to do that Finney-Smith for Whitmore type of sign and trade deal, unless the Lakers were to get in the second apron, and that would only happen if the Lakers were to trade and then bring back, say, bigger money. But I don't think they can do that, obviously, with the first apron rules and restrictions. So, for Finney-Smith, it'll be interesting, but the sign and trade also has to be facilitated by Finney-Smith. And if Finney-Smith, hold on, I think we got some news. Yep, Finney-Smith is going to Houston. Yeah, 4-year, $53 million deal. Oh, wow, that's why he's going to Houston. Yeah, the Lakers were in no way, shape, or form going to give him that type of money. Wow, $53 million. His agents are really good for a guy coming off surgery. So yeah, now we've got our first little bit of news, and it affects the Lakers, as Dorian Finney-Smith is now going to Houston on a 4-year, $53 million deal. And this was sort of the noise that we've been hearing the past couple of days, especially since he declined his option, and now he's going to get 4 years, $53 million for the Houston Rockets, and play for a championship contender. Like, the Rockets are really looking like a team that is really building to just beat up on a lot of different teams. So they have a really nice build there with the Houston Rockets. But Dorian Finney-Smith is now headed off, and that was part of my topics because I was expecting this thing to happen. So that gets me to, so now with DFS gone, who can be the replacement? That is now going to be how the Lakers are going to have to look things. They're going to have to pivot, and maybe with Ayton being available as a free agent, you can hopefully sign this guy, and then maybe you're trading for that 3-and-D point of attack defender, because there are a couple of guys out there that make sense, but they're mostly at the guard position, less so at that position that Dorian Finney-Smith was. But it kind of takes care of some problem with the Lakers, because the Lakers did have an overlapping power forward problem because they had Hachimura, because they had LeBron James, because they also had Luka Doncic, who guarded the same position. He doesn't play at the top of the power forward, but he guards a bunch of power forwards, small forwards, because of his size, and he's not quick enough to really guard those point guards out there. So this kind of does sort of like clear up the roster, but in that way, but the Lakers have to figure out to rebalance it now. So they have to find that point of attack defender. There has been talks today from Dan Wilkie about De'Anthony Melton. That has been a name that has been hovered out there. De'Anthony Melton, went over it earlier in the stream here, but yeah, guy who was solid before his ACL injury that happened in November, but there has been reports that he is going to make a full recovery and be ready to go at the beginning of next season. So, Dorian Finney-Smith being gone, this can be an answer. Another name that has been surfaced, Reaper, you're talking about it here in the comments section. I see you. Nickeil Alexander-Walker could be a fit. Yes, he can be. But I will say that the Lakers, that's that 14.5 or so-ish million that just opened up because Dorian Finney-Smith signed elsewhere. That is the most that they can offer a guy like Nickeil Alexander-Walker. And other teams, say like the Pistons or even the Hawks, can give a guy like Nickeil Alexander-Walker more money. So we'll see what happens, but Dorian Finney-Smith is gone, and we'll see if the Lakers are able to fill that void there. There's been a couple of other deals that Shams had just talked about. Paul Reed is re-signing with the Detroit Pistons, and then I believe, what is that, Cam Spencer signed a 2-year deal with the Memphis Grizzlies. So a couple of small level moves, but yeah, the Dorian Finney-Smith move, this was one that we started to see here the last 48 or so hours, and this is going to hurt the Los Angeles Lakers a little bit, but they do have now some more spending money to spend elsewhere. Sign and trade with Minnesota for Nickeil. So like it's not going to work for the sign and trade, at least for Nickeil Alexander-Walker, because the money that he is going to be demanding for is maybe in the $20 to $25 million range, and the Lakers don't have that type of money. And since they're in the first apron, they can't take on more money, say in a sign and trade, because the rules and restrictions just won't let them. So they can't sign and trade him. They would have to just only sign him through their mid-level exception, which is about $14.5 million. That is their best way of getting Nickeil Alexander-Walker on their squad. But other teams, they have more money to give him. But the Lakers, they do have a role, and maybe even the starting spot to give Nickeil Alexander-Walker. So maybe that can be a way to lure him over to our side. But yeah, you're right. This team just needs some wing depth. But I do like what they did with the draft, even though that kid seems like a bit far away. But if he's able to develop into like a proper 3-and-D player, I think the Lakers got something there. But like I said, he might be a few years away. So DFS, this is about, the 14.4. So it's less money than DFS would have gotten for the Lakers if you picked up his option, but it is more money over time. So he'll be getting more money over the 4 years, and that's why he picked Houston. And the Lakers weren't willing to give him probably the 4 years, maybe a 2-year deal, but not the 4-year. Oh yes, you're talking about our second round pick. Yes, he is raw talent though, very raw. We'll see what we got in summer league. Like how far along is he? Like if he needs like a year, or in the G League or something like that. But I'm really excited. I'm really actually excited for the G League team because they got Dalton, Knecht. They got Aduru, they've got Bronny James, they've got Marcelonis, who is like the son of a former player who was just like very sneaky good. They have a lot of guys who just like get after it and go at you. So like just a lot of physically imposing dudes. So the Summer League team should be very fun for the Los Angeles Lakers. Yes, Dorian Finney-Smith, if you are just joining the channel, is now heading to Houston, and the Lakers will have to find a way to fill his spot, as this is not ideal for the Lakers, but it is not the worst thing in the world, because the Lakers can still replace him, but it'll just take a little work here, a little elbow grease from Rob and the front office. You're saying the Lakers and Suns can help each other in some areas? Yes, they can. Nick Richards has been the name that has been popping up here as the guy. So Nick Richards has popped up a ton as a name, and I believe he's getting paid $5 million, and he's an expiring contract too. So he gets paid about $5 million. So he's a very cheap contract. You don't have to send out a lot of money to really match to get him back, and he might only cost you maybe a second round draft pick. So if they can match salary and do that, that's another way they can bring in a backup center, or they can do it in free agency. But like I said, first and foremost, that it looks like Dorian Finney-Smith is held elsewhere, and the Lakers will be looking to fill that void with somebody else, hopefully somebody that can add point of attack defense and somebody that can push the Lakers forward, maybe in the younger direction. Because Dorian Finney-Smith was 32 years old, and no offense to Dorian Finney-Smith. Dorian Finney-Smith was a very solid player and did a lot of good things for the Lakers, but at 32 years old and giving a guy a 4-year deal, that might be a little risky, especially now that you have Luka Doncic on your team and you want to go on his timeline. Luka Doncic is around 26, 27, so you want to get guys at or around his timeline to build and grow with him, rather than having an older guy sort of like fall out when Luka Doncic is really finding his peak value for the Los Angeles Lakers. So in some ways, I get it with the Lakers because you don't want to give him Finney-Smith too many years, but it does suck. Reaper, you're talking about Dylan Brooks. Dylan Brooks is tough though, because Dylan Brooks makes a lot of money, and that's what makes it tough to trade for him. So like, are you willing to trade a Rui Hachimura for Dylan Brooks? If so, then maybe you can get it done. But I don't know how much the Lakers are willing to do that. I know Dylan Brooks gives you defensively, but offensively, he is not better than Rui Hachimura. So like, what is the goal here if you are going to do that type of deal? And we'll continue to be looking. Like I said, I'm going to be on my phone probably a ton. So it looks like the Memphis Grizzlies are probably going to cut Cole Anthony to make space for Jaren Jackson Jr. for their extensions. But yeah, not any real Laker news. Like I said, we'll be on the lookout. We'll be here probably the next hour or 2 hours or so, talking about what the Lakers can and can't do. I've won a couple of names. Talked about a couple of centers the Lakers have been looking for. I've talked about De'Anthony Melton, who's a name the Lakers could use to replace a guy like Finney-Smith. Obviously not for the money and years, because he just came off an ACL injury, but a guy that can fill that role a little bit. Just somebody out there the Lakers could possibly go after. And then also the trades as well. So the Lakers can be still very active in the trade market. They still have a first-round pick that can trade the 2031 and 2032 first-round pick to go along with Dalton Knecht if they feel necessary. And then also the expired contracts they have with Maxi Kleber, Gabe Vincent, Rui Hachimura, and maybe if there was a deal for it, Austin Reaves, but I don't see the Lakers trading Austin Reaves at this point in time. But we shall see, especially with some things that have been happening unexpectedly, and Dorian Finney-Smith so far is the biggest news of the day for the Lakers. Ooh. Again, thanks for y'all to joining us for this stream here on Lakers Digest. Retro Mike was like, trade LeBron to the East. If that is going to happen, a lot would have to happen on the Lakers end. I've heard talks about this just because of LeBron, who was picking up his option, but this more seems like LeBron declaring his days are numbered. Not like for the Lakers, just in the league in general. I don't think he's going to go to another team after the Lakers. That's just my opinion. There's no reporting on any of that. It's just my thinking and just how LeBron has just stayed with the Lakers for over 8 seasons now. So I think LeBron has some trust within the Lakers. So it's more smoke than anything, really. So I don't want to read too much into the LeBron James thing, because I do believe he is going to stay for the Los Angeles Lakers for the season. And as far as next season, he'll probably answer that when next season rolls around. And I do believe that could be his last season, because that'll be I think, a chance for him to play with Bryce James if he chooses to exit out of Arizona early. Retro Mike, yes. Samurai is asking a good question to Retro Mike. It's like, how would you trade him? Because LeBron is with a no trade clause makes him harder to trade because he would have to like know where he's going, and then also a team would have to have enough money for you to sort of match, because the Lakers can't trade out LeBron and then sort of they have to match salary when they're trading out with most of these teams, because it would have to be like a second apron team or maybe even a first apron team that they're trading with, because LeBron is going to go to a contender. He's not going to go to, say, the Charlotte Hornets or like the Chicago Bulls, who have assets. These teams, like, they have assets and they could trade for LeBron, but LeBron is not going to those teams. But 40 or so minutes in here, and it's not as crazy as it said. Samurai, I don't want LeBron to leave. Like I said, I don't think he's leaving. I do think it's just more of a clear indicator of like when he's possibly retiring, because his days are numbered. He's gonna be in year 23, and this is a year unprecedented because nobody has gone into year 23. So I think LeBron has been just puffing up smoke. Reaper says, I'm waiting for some blockbuster move out of nowhere. I've been waiting for it too. It's been weirdly quiet so far. And say the reason like you don't see something like a Deandre Ayton, because Deandre Ayton's still clearing waivers. So we might not see him sign until Wednesday. But the Lakers now have to find a way to fill that void for Dorian Finney-Smith. But Houston's gonna be a very solid team next year. I don't mind if you're retired after next season. Yeah, that's where I think it's going. Samurai, like I don't see him playing too much longer. That's really what it was to me, him picking up his option, because it's like, man, this year could be the last, or next year. Like it's not gonna be no 5 more seasons. He's not gonna do that to his body. Like the dude's 41, so he's definitely not. I'd rather LeBron yeah. Yeah, that's the likely situation. I think he's gonna retire with the Lakers, then go to another team and try to chase a championship. He's more likely to retire, and if that is the case, that means guys like a Bronny James better start playing up, showing that improvement. I think he can. He's got the physical tools to be a worthwhile player in the league, like a Gary Payne II, where he's at. That is a viable goal to see a guy like Bronny James, or maybe even higher, because he's got some on-ball skills. We'll see if he goes it in Summer League, but like I said, I'm really excited about the Summer League squad this season. They've got a lot of dogs on the team, a lot of athletic dudes, so that they're going to be getting up and down the court, just going back and forth. So once basketball hits back, I believe it's on the 5th, July 5th, because that's when the California Classic starts. We'll see the first iteration of the Lakers Summer League team. And I'm telling you, that team right now, they're going to be very exciting to watch just because of the type of players they've got there. And it looks like we've got a move. Oh, wow. Austin Reaves worked. Oh, we got a deal heading to the Lakers. It looks like Jake Laravia is heading to the Lakers on a 2-year, $12 million deal. He's joining the Los Angeles Lakers. And that is funny because Austin Reaves and Jake Laravia share. Wait, hold on. Yeah, share the same agent. So that is crazy. That is all right. Cool. So that's our first move of the day for the Lakers. Not too big of a move. They pick up a forward, Jake Laravia. Let's put in. Let's yes, we did just get Jake Laravia. Dodgers will repeat as the World Series champions. Probably, but that's baseball. We can talk about baseball another time. But yes, we did get Jake Laravia. So let's talk about him a little bit. Let me pull up his stats so we can get into what we're getting to for Jake. But yeah, Jake Laravia has played a couple of seasons for his career.